3 years have passed since that pivotal night in the hospital hallway. My father has made a remarkable recovery, implementing many of the same principles that transform my health. Together, we've reclaimed vitality that once seemed permanently lost. But the greater gift has been the psychological liberation, freedom from the constant internal conflict between what I knew I should do and what I actually did consistently. What I've come to understand most deeply is that health transformation isn't primarily about acquiring more information. We live in an era of unprecedented access to health knowledge. The internet places the equivalent of a medical library and fitness academy at our fingertips. The barrier isn't knowing what to do. It's implementing what we already know with consistency sufficient to create lasting change. This gap between knowledge and action isn't a character flaw or moral failing. It's the predictable result of attempting to change physical behaviors without addressing the psychological infrastructure that supports them. It's like trying to rebuild a house without touching the foundation. You might create temporary improvements, but the underlying patterns eventually reassert themselves. The framework I've shared addresses this fundamental disconnect by working with human psychology rather than against it. It acknowledges that willpower is finite and motivation fluctuates. It recognizes that environment shapes behavior more powerfully than intention. It honors the profound influence of identity on our actions. It embraces the necessity of minimum standards during life's inevitable disruptions. And it transforms setbacks from failures into feedback that strengthens the system over time. What makes this approach particularly valuable is its transferability across different health circumstances, personal preferences, and starting points. The specific tactical elements, the particular foods, exercises, or sleep practices, can be customized to your unique situation while the psychological framework remains constant. This creates a system that's both structured enough to provide clear direction and flexible enough to accommodate individual variation. Many participants in this approach have asked whether it requires adopting an entirely new health regimen or if it can enhance existing efforts. The answer is both. The framework can be applied to optimize whatever specific health approaches best suit your body and circumstances. Some participants implement it alongside established programs like Mediterranean eating or strength training, finding that the psychological elements dramatically improve their consistency with these tactical approaches. Others use the framework to build entirely new health routines, appreciating how it guides both the what and the how of lasting change. Both approaches create powerful results because the framework addresses the root psychological patterns that determine whether any health approach succeeds over time. A question that frequently arises concerns the time investment required. In a world already filled with demands and obligations, adding another system can feel overwhelming. What's remarkable about this approach is how it actually reduces the mental and emotional burden of health management over time. The initial investment in establishing the 5 elements does require deliberate attention, but this investment yields compounding returns as behaviors transition from conscious effort to automatic habit. Most participants report that by month 3, many aspects of their health routine require significantly less mental bandwidth than their previous approach of constant internal negotiation and recommitment. By year 1, numerous elements have transitioned to background operations, requiring minimal conscious management. The framework essentially creates a self-sustaining system that conserves rather than depletes your limited reserves of attention and willpower. Another common question addresses whether this approach works for significant health challenges or only for general wellness improvements. While individual medical conditions always require appropriate professional guidance, the framework has demonstrated remarkable effectiveness across diverse health circumstances, from weight management to chronic condition support to athletic performance enhancement. Michael, a 61-year-old managing type 2 diabetes, implemented the framework alongside his medical treatment plan and reported, "My A1C improved more in the first 6 months than it had in the previous 5 years of knowing what I should do but struggling to do it consistently." My endocrinologist asked what had changed in my approach because the improvement was so significant. Elena, a 42-year-old recovering from autoimmune complications, shared, "I'd been given an extensive protocol by my functional medicine doctor, but found myself inconsistently implementing it despite knowing how much it helped when I followed it. This framework didn't change what I needed to do, but it completely transformed my ability to do it reliably. The healthcare recommendations finally became lived reality rather than aspiration." Or these examples highlight a crucial insight. The framework doesn't replace appropriate health guidance, but dramatically enhances your ability to implement that guidance consistently. It bridges the gap between knowing the right path and actually walking it daily. For those wondering how to begin implementing this approach, I recommend starting with a single element rather than attempting the entire framework simultaneously. Most people find that environmental design creates the most immediate impact with the least resistance, making it an excellent starting point. Small adjustments to your physical spaces and daily routines can create momentum that supports introducing the other elements gradually. Whichever element you begin with, approach implementation as an experiment rather than a rigid plan. Observe how specific applications work with your unique psychology and circumstances. Modify approaches that create resistance while expanding those that generate natural momentum. The framework provides structure without demanding perfect adherence to any particular implementation method. As my own journey continues, I've discovered that the most profound aspect of health transformation isn't the physical improvements, but the integration of body and mind that emerges through this approach. When your daily health behaviors align with your deeper values, identity, and environment, the persistent conflict many of us experience around health gradually dissolves. What emerges isn't perfection, but a natural congruence between what you truly want and what you actually do. This alignment creates a form of freedom that extends far beyond physical health outcomes. The constant background anxiety about not doing what you know you should diminishes. The cognitive energy previously consumed by internal health debates becomes available for other priorities. The shame cycle of commitment followed by abandonment gives way to steady progression with resilience when challenges arise. If you take only one insight from this journey, let it be this: your health behaviors aren't primarily a reflection of your knowledge, willpower, or character. They're the natural expression of your current psychological infrastructure. Your motivational connections, environment identity, standards, and recovery strategies transform that infrastructure, and transformed behaviors follow with remarkably less struggle than trying to force change through willpower alone. The night I stood in that hospital hallway watching my father's monitors became a turning point, not because it scared me into temporary changes, but because it initiated a fundamental shift in how I approached health transformation. It led me beyond the endless cycle of tactical approaches to the psychological foundations that determine whether any approach succeeds over time. Your own turning point need not arise from crisis. It can begin right now with a decision to address not just what needs to change, but the deeper patterns that will support that change becoming your lived reality rather than another abandoned attempt. The framework I've shared provides a roadmap for that journey. Not a quick fix, but a sustainable path toward the alignment of intention and action that creates lasting transformation. Whether you're standing in your own metaphorical hospital hallway, or simply tired of the gap between your health knowledge and your daily reality, I invite you to consider a fundamentally different approach. Not another diet or exercise program, but a system for ensuring that whatever specific health practices serve you best become your consistent lived experience, rather than a perpetual struggle against your own psychology. The health you desire isn't beyond your reach. It's waiting on the other side of psychological patterns you can systematically transform. Your turning point begins the moment you shift focus from what to change to how change actually happens and sustains in the magnificent, complex system that is the human mind-body connection.